These are exciting times for believers in Christ who are interested in Bible prophecy. Many of the things that are suggested by unfulfilled future prophecies seem to be trending like never before. We reserve a few minutes Sunday morning to discuss some of those things. We're careful to use recognized, reliable sources for news and information, and we're never saying that the things we report are the fulfillment of prophecy, only that they are the things you'd expect from reading the Bible. In the future Great Tribulation, the world leader we know most commonly as the Antichrist will exercise totalitarian control over his citizens. We're told all, both small and great, rich and poor, free and slave, will receive a mark on their right hand or on their foreheads, and that no one may buy or sell except one who has the mark or the name of the beast, that's the Antichrist, or the number of his name. It would seem that the Apostle John was shown how what we call biometrics would be used to surveil and actually control the lives who were under the Antichrist's reign. You would expect that the nations of the world would be trending towards a surveillance state made possible by biometrics. And thanks largely to COVID-19, a biometric surveillance state is happening all around the globe. I'll just highlight a few things I ran across this week. Regarding COVID-19 and quarantine enforcement, in Hong Kong, authorities are requiring the use of a bracelet and an app for all travelers. The home quarantining app in the Polish government involves mandatory check-ins rather. South Korea uses GPS to track locations to ensure against quarantine breach, sending alerts if people leave their designated areas. Singapore requires people to report their location with photographic proof. Thailand is using an app and SIM cards for all travelers to enforce quarantine. Ecuador is reportedly using GPS data on mobile phones. India is stamping the hands of people arriving at airports to specify the duration of their quarantine and deploying drones to monitor social distancing. I just want to see that. Don't you? How would a drone, how would it do it in here? What if a drone came in here and, did they shoot at you? I mean, what, there's a voice distance, measuring thing, it's just fascinating to me. Serbia, the police and military monitor people in quarantine. Vietnam is using a network of informants. It's old school, but it seems to work. In Montenegro, which I didn't know was a country, social media users have been publicly naming individuals. So they're shaming people who are violating their rules. And Greece is also using drones to enforce lockdowns. Regarding COVID-19 and telecommunications data, at least 27 countries are using data from cell phone companies to track the movements of their citizens, and at least 30 have developed smartphone apps for the public to download. In Turkey, the government is forcibly tracking people over 65 who are not allowed to leave their homes. When the phone belonging to an American university student in Taiwan, who was subject to 14 days quarantine after returning from Europe, ran out of battery power, in less than an hour he had received phone calls from 4 different local administrative units, a text message notifying him he would be arrested if he had broken quarantine, and a visit from the police. In order to enforce mandatory 14-day quarantine orders, Kenyan authorities have been tracking mobile phones of people suspected to have COVID-19. Police enforcement efforts have led to several deaths. 3 died of injuries from being beaten, and 1, a 13-year-old boy, was hit by a bullet. COVID-19 and apps. Citizens in China were required to install the Alipay health code app, fill in their personal details, and then were issued a QR code with one of the 3 colors denoting their quarantining status. The app reportedly shared location data with police. In some cases, such as Indiana University, UMass Amherst, and the University of New Hampshire, universities are requiring students to make blanket commitments to install unspecified tracking apps that the universities may specify in the future, leaving students potentially liable to, or unable rather, to protect their privacy, despite the lack of evidence that these apps actually work to protect your health. Then there's the United Nations. They have a sustainable development goal. It's 16.9 in their document. It calls for legal identity for all by 2030. They mean a digital identity of some kind. For example, an article posted in theeconomist.com was titled, COVID-19 spurs national plans to give every citizen digital identity. Another article was titled, Ready or Not, Biometric Payment Cards and Immunity Passports Are Here. The author noted that these developments have been accelerated by the current pandemic. So we have here surrender of privacy, constant surveillance, digital ID, restricted movement and travel, enforced compliance, happening on a global scale. This is just the kind of stuff that we expect from a literal futurist reading of unfulfilled Bible prophecy. It just is all coming together at once because they keep using the term accelerating. COVID-19 is accelerating this process, and it's making people, it's making it palatable for people to give up or not have privacy anymore because they think they're afraid that they might die or that they might spread the disease. And so the governments of the world are stepping in. There's not a huge government conspiracy behind it, but they are taking advantage of the times to move towards this kind of global totalitarianism. Now, we believe from the Bible that the resurrection and rapture of the church is imminent. It could happen at any moment. Nothing needs to happen before it. It will definitely happen before the Great Tribulation. So we're not in the tribulation, and we won't be. Jesus is going to come, raise the dead in Christ, those that have died up to that point in the church age. And then we which are alive and remain will be changed in a moment, in the twinkling of an eye. We'll be given our resurrection bodies. And together with the dead in Christ, we will rise to heaven and be there safe for the 7-year tribulation. That's what we're going to see in the study of our book of Revelation as time goes on. Then we'll return with Jesus to help him establish his kingdom. But the most important thing right now is that a person would be ready for the rapture, because that's the event that could happen at any moment. And so the question is, are you ready for the rapture? If not, get ready, stay ready, keep looking up, because ready or not, Jesus is coming. Right on, you guys are good.